To say Deadlink is addictive is to understate things, but when your combat rhythm approaches the almighty Doom Eternals, feeling as rewarding as that masterwork, it's hard to think otherwise. Placed in a stylized cyberpunk world, embarking on missions to land a defining gunshot with the plans of mega corporations, you can bet we'll be met with opposition. With the roguelite framework, they'll see you venture to 4 corporate biomes, arena after arena. Trust me when I say if you're a fan of fast-paced aggressive FPS, this isn't a game to be overlooked. An aspect where Deadlink borrows from Doom Eternal is resource management, and like it, adding to the flow of combat. A prime mechanic is marking enemies, meaning hitting them with either a grenade or ability. They'll become highlighted upon death, releasing armor shards. Health isn't something readily recovered, so you're constantly working on maintaining it, like ammo for your special weapon. The game has 4 classes, called armor shells, each with unique skills and loadouts. While their main weapons have infinite ammo, their second needs to be replenished by breaking floating green spheres called sea balls. It may sound cumbersome, but in practice, it's anything but. The whole of the arena is your domain. Enemies are numerous and they hit hard, but you do so with stopping power. Once you master the groove, breaking for ammo becomes a dash in to dash out. You'll relentlessly alternate between weapon and abilities, unleashing hell just like in Doom Eternal. You'll be bathing in armor shards. After pouring RPG numbers into the game, I have yet to tire of the gameplay, in part due to each run being kept fresh. Upon clearing a room, you're generally given the choice of path for the next arena, each with a reward. Some will provide currency, others experience, but more importantly perks and upgrades, ranging in rarity. They can offer tangible buffs, where the benefit conferred is immediate. Reduced cooldowns, elemental damage, an extra grenade per throw. The list is extensive, with new ones constantly surfacing. Even if you get something minor, upgrades add up, where the character you started with can feel far different from when you started, especially if you aim to upgrade your weapon and character stats. Add toxic, fire, or electricity to your gunfire. Hell, if the odds favor it, all 3, you can imagine the chaos. Choose a door for your special weapon instead. You'll have the option to level it up or swap it. And not merely for variants for your class, all are fair game. You really get the sense that Deadlink has a build to suit you. Of course, there are some improvements with the downside. For instance, one class uses a wingman of a revolver, firing as fast as you can tap, yet you can increase its headshot damage by degrading the speed. It's the sort of decision that can weigh on a run. I love headshots. I've seen those yellow numbers pop up, so I choose it often. Sometimes you're in the zone, landing them away, and others, missing what feels like all the time. When the feeling strikes in a boss fight, while nearing death, yeah, mistakes were made. It wasn't all for naught though, but when you return to the hub, the light side of Rogue shows its colors. There is a wealth of permanent upgrades that'll carry across all future runs. The starting ones are perhaps the most vital, reduce damage and improving our ability to inflict it. Others, like starting runs with the choice of equipment, recovering some armor after a room, and even surviving a death blow are also amazing. I want to stress that final one, this game is hard, even when you attune yourself to its rhythm. A mistake here, a mistake there, it can quickly add up. The bosses are truly the benchmark for how you're doing. It took me a while before I could consistently clear the second boss. The same went for the third and final. I still struggle with the final boss. Her biome is structured differently, in that you can proceed directly to her, but in exchange of her gaining a 20% health buff per room uncleared, you'll be in one of the rewards anyway, so what's the problem? Each features a mini-boss supported by the strongest minions of the game. I've had builds where it felt like chip damage was all I could do. It sucked. And others where I just entered the arena and need to move on to the next. I was OP. I remember the first time I managed to best the final boss, having my celebration cut short by having to fight her again. A true form deal. It's the only enemy in Deadlink I wish could be reworked. The number of times I've gone the distance and died, man, it's something I don't want to think about. All I know in those moments, there is nothing I desire more than to start another run. The game achieves that good balance where it feels that, even if luck isn't siding with you, you can conquer the game from pure skill, that they are but minor buffs to sharpen our inherent edge. Deadlink is fun in its difficulty, which I know I found funny when I was reminded that the starting is an orientation. Easy. It's time to step it up for the next, I guess. As mentioned, there are 4 classes, You know how in some games one can eclipse others, where you sense it's the only one that can get things done? That doesn't apply here. Each one feels viable, balanced, and with their own appeal. I had times where the choice came down to my mood. The starting class, Soldier, may be the best suited for quick switching, with an explosive assault of shotgun and rocket launcher blasts. It's the one that comes closest to Doom Eternal, mainly with a grappling hook to move in on a target, followed by an EMP wave to remind you of the plasma rifle. You're straight unleashing, casting a grenade between bursts for good measure. You would think, why experiment with the others? The answer lies in pros and cons. Splash damage can eat into your armor and health, and with how often you'll be moving, becoming a real issue. The next class doesn't contend with it, but the way it was described didn't make me think it was tailored for me.
It's stealthier, deadlier, more precise.
Yeah, I couldn't have been more wrong. Quickly becoming my favorite, and the one I would beat the game with, Hunter. It's the one bearing the revolver. You can swap locations with an enemy, stunning them in the process, or plan a decoy for a breather. Since you're limited in crowd control, the arc cannon is here to compensate. Indeed, that's the theme of the special weapons, crowd control. The third class, the Engineer, uses an assault rifle, feeling more traditional FPS, throwing down a sentry turret and latching onto targets with a shocking tether. A grenade launcher acts as a special weapon, which can remotely detonate its rounds. And lastly, and new to the 1.0 release, literally named Juggernaut. It's literal because this class can enter a defensive stance, absorbing all incoming damage for an explosion, and a punch that can launch across the arena for whatever you opt to punish. Equipped with a double-barrel shotgun and bearing a grenade launcher, come what may. Before I bring things to a terminus, I want to bring up the presentation. The visuals are attractive and cohesive, with touches throughout that reflect attention to even the most minute of things. The destructibility of environments, flourishes to weapons when they acquire a stat. These are elements that don't need to be there, but are punctuating. The same could be spoken for the sound design. I'm sure there will be a consensus for the sound of picking up armor shards. It's so nice to hear, taking a song title from Megadeth, The Symphony of Destruction. The soundtrack is nearly all electronic. Not only does it serve the vibe of the world, but it also serves the vibe of combat. I haven't mentioned it, but there is a crew behind the scenes helping us. In a way that suits the story anyway, not gameplay. And I don't mean that in a bad way. For that, there are NPCs we can wager our odds with. There is some fun banter, with Maria being the most eccentric and memorable.
Wow, this one is bigger than their usual. Bring in a jar, keep it up. We'll be here cheering you on.
These interactions generally don't take themselves too seriously, but adhere to a grounded tone when needed. I know after hearing a couple lines, I was craving a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
The peanut butter jelly thingy. Make peanut butter that's pre-mixed with jelly.
Femto can now print peanut butter inside the jelly.
For fans of FPS, chiefly at the adrenaline of its more aggressive and fast-paced forms, Deadlink is a prime recommendation. With a wealth of unlockables and build variations, it will keep you coming back, far past beating the game. The experience is one that's hard to put down. With elements of roguelite, every run will vary, and with 2 additional difficulties to play through, you'll always be kept on your toes, and more importantly, engaged. Nearly every facet of it reflects quality, something we can all use more of in our lives. Thanks for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, or if you want to see more content from me about fun games to check out, not just FPS, consider subscribing. I'll leave a couple videos if you're interested in checking out more from me. Once more, I want to thank you all and hope everyone has a good one.